API works, I know I can hit like pokeapi.co/API v2/Pokemon/a number to look them up. Can I look them up by name instead? That would sure be a lot easier. Let's look up the documentation. Warning, this is a very slow API. Check out the docs. Okay. Can look up abilities, ID or name. Okay. Characteristics. Cool. Does it have to be by ID though, not name? Natures. I feel like there's something I can't see here. Okay, utility, Pokemon. Resource list. Calling any API endpoint without a resource ID or name will return a paginated list of available resources. So can I really not look them up by? Let's just try it out. Let's try it out here. Does it? Oh, it does say, yeah. So if I go to what if I say /1? Is that what? Oh, yeah. /Pokemon/Pikachu. Yep. Okay, cool. Totally works. So it gives me some JSON with information about Pikachu. All right, here we go. So knowing that this is here, I should probably put a link to this thing. PokeAPI.co. I'll put a link to that in Slack. So here is something that I can do. So in my new Pokemon details component, let's make a new method called fetch Pokemon or something. Fetch Pokemon data. And we'll have it get the Pokemon out of the params that were passed in. So I'll say const Pokemon in brackets like that so I can do this. Using that destructuring trick. Then I'll say fetch HTTPS pokeapi.co/API/v2/Pokemon/ whatever was passed in, right? Notice I used backticks here. So fetch returns a promise. So I'll have to call .then, which will, I'll need a callback here that'll receive the response. The response I expect to be JSON. So I'll call response.json, which will then return a promise with whatever data it gives me. So I'll just console.log that data for right this second. Let's see if we can make this work. So we could call this when the page first loads. I suppose sooner or later I'll want to save this data in the in state. I'll add a constructor. So should you ever actually need to use your props inside the constructor, here's how you can do that. Just put props as an argument to the constructor and be sure that you call super with props. Then it'll actually set this dot props. So I could call this dot fetch Pokemon data from there, because it uses this dot props dot match. But first I'll set this dot state Pokemon to an empty object. Let's see what happens. Okay. I console logged Bulbasaur here. Cool. So instead of console logging it, how about I set state? So this dot set state, I think now I know this is Pokemon data. I'll call it Pokemon. Now it's really going to get hot. So whatever data I get back here, I'll add to this dot set state. So here's where I actually fetch it from the API. Here I turn it into JSON, or I parse the JSON really. And then I get whatever it was a Pokemon, and I'm going to set it on state. And why did let's see. Let's just check it out. Let's look at my React. Let's look at my Pokemon details. This.state.pokemon. Yep. Check it out. It's there. So instead of saying this.props.match params Pokemon down here, let's say let's make it an H2, and let's just put in this.state.pokemon.name. Bulbasaur. Put in a new one. What gives? URL changed, Jigglypuff. How come this didn't change? I called it in the constructor, right? So this component was already here. All that changed was a prop, right? So submitting the form again, changed the URL, which to this component was just changing a prop, because that comes through as one of those route params. So I need component did update. Component did update. And again, we'll make sure the props actually changed. So we receive the previous props as an argument to component did update. We know from the documentation. So if prev props dot match dot params dot Pokemon not equal to this dot props dot match dot params dot Pokemon, then call this dot fetch Pokemon data again. Okay, Jigglypuff, Psyduck, and it works. Takes it a second because the API is kind of slow, but okay. So this is just putting out what we actually typed in. So that's not a lot of good that does us, but trust us, it's coming from the API. What else? What other good stuff does this return? Abilities. Yeah, sprites was in here somewhere, right? I saw it in there. Probably easier to find in here. Details. Pokemon. Sprites. Front default. Okay, so dot sprites dot front default. So let's put an image in here. Self-closing tag. Image source equals this dot state dot Pokemon dot sprites dot front underscore default alt equals, this is getting long, this dot state dot Pokemon dot name. Aww. Dot sprites was sprite. Let's comment this out for a sec. Pokemon dot sprites dot front default. This dot state dot. This dot subject Pokemon dot name works though, huh? Let's just do this. We can put basically like an if in here. What if I say this dot state dot Pokemon dot sprites and this image? See the trick I'm using here? It won't evaluate the right half of an and if the left hand was false. Yeah. So, what is false and true? False, right? It never even checks the right side. Here? This dot state dot Pokemon dot sprites. So if that's undefined, it's never going to check the right hand of the and sign, of the and sign. So if the sprites haven't loaded yet, if this is falsy, then it just stops, yeah. But if that's there, then it checks the right side.
Why didn't it not work before?
It hadn't loaded from the API yet. Hadn't loaded from the API yet, which is fine here because Pokemon's defined and name is just blank. So it just doesn't put the H2 there yet. Yeah. Let's try that. Like everyone's favorite Pokemon, Kindlesaur. Yeah, we just get an error back. So we could deal with that somehow if we wanted to. Let's let's make this null. Let's say this dot set state error no such let's just say snap, there was a problem. And down here we could say I just put a little paragraph here, or I could say, let's do this. This dot state dot error and a little paragraph with whatever the error was. This dot state dot error. And not doing it. Why isn't that working? This state dot error. Why isn't that ever doing anything? Cat should have worked there. Let me check here. No? Yeah, did not catch that. Oh well. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do for right this second, and I haven't committed in a really, really long time. So there's probably all kinds of stuff you want to do after this thing loads. But anyway, if we actually find something, there it is. So let's commit this. Load data from Pokemon API. Really long time since I committed. Oh, dang it. Had I not saved? What changed? Ugh. Yep. I mean, I don't know that you can do that from inside there. Oh, I didn't add first though, moron. There we go. Ah! I thought so. I'd already pushed. All right. Never mind. You didn't see any of that. Everything's great. I did it right the first time.